Hello, and welcome to Guidance for a Better Life. Today's story is about regret, and regret is a very difficult emotion, and it can be difficult to hold regret for many years. But don't stop. We've got a story today, and my guest, Michelle Hishman, is going to show how God took care of the regret by giving her a do-over on something. I think you can all relate to this. We all have things we wish we could do over, but generally that's not possible. Well, with God, everything's possible. So, hello, Michelle.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really interested in this because of all the emotions, sadness, anger, loneliness. Regret is a tough one because usually regret is something that was done or not done, and that's gone. That ship has sailed. Mm-hmm. So I don't know of many stories where once you have regret, you get a chance to fix it. Your story's different. This has a positive ending. You had some regret. It's not horrible regret, but something that troubled you. And God knew you had a prayer in your heart. You wish you'd done something different. And voila. I guess, we'll see how this story goes. But it's a happy ending. So your story's actually, I'm not sure what chapter. Do you happen to know?
21.
Chapter 21, and it's Visit Loved Ones in Heaven, chapter 21. It's a beautiful story. So where do we start? I guess start with your mom. The regrets about how you left your mom the last time you saw her physically. Mm-hmm. So lead up to share with the audience how you ended up spending all that extra time with her, which was also a blessing in its own right.
Mm-hmm. So I got a call in my senior year of college that my mom was ill.
And you already had moved?
Yes, I was in Virginia. She was in New York, so it was quite a distance.
You already living your own
Long
life.
gone. Yeah.
Okay.
But I knew, with that phone call, she was never sick, ever. So I didn't know how bad it was at the time, but I got in the car and drove. It was, I need to be there. I felt that really strongly. And it turned out that she had a heart attack. And she needed to have triple bypass surgery.
Now, in the book, she was in the hospital when you got there.
By the time I got there, yes.
By the time you got there.
Mm-hmm. She was headed to the hospital when I got the call.
And your siblings were already there? Mm-hmm. How many siblings do you have?
I have 10.
Whoa! That's a whole other story.
Yes.
So family members are there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I actually drove to Pennsylvania and went with one of my sisters because it was kind of like we knew this was going to be hard. She was transported to New York City. So that in itself, we were like, all new area, all new, this is going to be a lot.
Okay. Now, how old was your mom at this time?
65.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And needed bypass surgery, and you're going to the hospital.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we determined that this was going to be a long process, that she was going to need help. Everyone was chipping in. Everyone was doing things. We have a sister that's disabled that was at home. So people were helping her. They're doing all these things, but with all those siblings, I'm the youngest. So
was your dad still alive?
No, he had passed 2 years earlier.
Okay, so your mom definitely needed some extra help, live-in help, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, and because I was in school, I was the one with that flexibility, and I very much wanted to do that.
Why? Because you were in school, you didn't have.
I didn't have a job, a career. I could say, I have this hardship. Yeah, basically, this was more important.
Okay, it wasn't a career supporting a family or something.
Right.
So you're the one that volunteered once your mom came back from the hospital.
Right.
You're the one. They had to go back to their families and careers. Mm-hmm. That's what you were talking about in the book.
Right. Right.
So you ended up.
And they helped in different ways. Yeah.
Okay, but you were the one physically in the house with your mom.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And how long were you there with her?
It was probably only a week. It was going to be longer.
Okay.
So it was, in my mind, a gift from God because I hadn't spent time like that with her in so many years. And I was going to be getting married in a year. And so we had all this time to kind of talk. And I was taking care of her and letting her pretend that I wasn't taking care of her and those types of things.
So because you left the home early, and that's another story, and had your own direction, this was a gift in itself that you had time. She's going to end up passing, and we'll get to the real pearl of the story, but that's a gift in itself.
It was.
Beyond the rest of the story that you had time, because you've been away for quite a few years, right? Okay.
Yeah, and even when I was home, that time together, when there are 11 siblings, is not typical.
Not a lot of one-on-one time.
Right.
So you had basically one-on-one time, maybe the first time in your life.
Maybe, yeah.
For about a week there. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and as I looked back at it when I was writing the testimony, that was such a gift that I saw, that it was that was really special time.
All right. So then,
because it was going to be this several weeks process, my sister was going to come and kind of relieve me, and I was going to take the weekend and take a break, and we'd trade off. So she drove from Pennsylvania and came, and I was getting ready to leave. And I went over to my mom, and she's just in her chair and, looking frail. And she was not generally very physically affectionate. And it was an awkward, uncomfortable, not something I liked to do, was to give a hug. And I said, I'll see you in a couple of days. And she kind of giggled, and I patted her on the head. And it was just kind of like, bye, Mom. Like I wanted to touch her. I wanted to, but pat
on the head was as much as
we could both do. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
But you'll be back in a few days.
Yeah, I was coming back.
Okay.
Right. So I drove to Pennsylvania, and I pulled in the driveway, and my brother was on the phone to say my mom had just passed away.
Wow. Did it seem like she was that near death?
No, not at all. She was going to go back to the doctor. She was doing well. You were going to go back
sudden. In a few days, and all of a sudden, what change of plans?
Yeah, and it was that moment where you couldn't even process really what he was saying. It was just like, there's no way, I just left.
Now in the book, you talked about it. Nowadays, if somebody died, because you know about God and soul goes on and all that, it seems like today, with all your growth over the years, you'd be okay being there, comforting her as soul departed the physical body. But you wrote in the story, this was a bit of a sidebar, that you saw that was a blessing. At that time in your life, from the stories, I don't think
I could have handled it.
You might have had a tough time with that. Yeah. So you had the quality time, which you had one-on-one time, which you had not had really any time in your life.
Right.
And at that time in your life, you go on in the story. We don't cover everything sometimes in the interviews, but there's more in the story about that would have been really hard for you.
Yeah.
So you weren't there for that, which was kind of a blessing where you were at that time of life.
Yeah.
And then now bring us up to date. Then I guess the funeral. Did you go back?
For the funeral and things like that. Yeah, I went through that. But I had just, when I was thinking about this and writing this, I had realized how long, it was one May, about 3 years ago when I started writing it, and May was kind of always a hard time. Her birthday was in May, Mother's Day, she passed away in May, so I kind of thought about her a little more.
Yeah, 3 things.
Yeah, she was always more on my mind then.
How long ago did she pass?
18 years.
18 years. Yeah. And when did this, we're going to get to the real pearl of this story. 3 years ago, so that's 15 years, if my math is right. So 15 years after you left her and patted her on the head, and you saw it was a blessing to spend time with her, and you felt you were better off not being there when she passed. You might not have been able to have it at that age. You were fairly young. So 15 years later, you start feeling what in your heart?
Regret. Realizing, what I realized was I was carrying it, and I didn't know to what level I was carrying it.
So you were carrying regret the whole time.
Yes.
But you became more conscious of it after 15 years. A lot of things people sweep under the carpet, and they think no problem. They just ignore it, out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. It doesn't really go away. You just keep tripping on the carpet where the little bumps are. But you thought it was gone, but in hindsight, it was with you all along.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened 3 years ago?
Well, I realized that when I was often thinking about her, that is one of the pieces that would come up. Other things would, but it was like that, why didn't I hug her? Why didn't I do more? Why didn't I say I love you before I left? That last
What was the main regret?
Not hugging her before I left.
And saying you loved her.
Yes.
Just a pat in the head, which was okay then, is now not sufficient.
Right.
And that's the regret, that you didn't...
That there was more in my heart I didn't express.
Do you think back then the family didn't share love, affection as far as physical as much? Hugs wasn't your thing in your family?
Not that I remember. I always remember it being awkward. I don't remember my mom doing that too much. It was kind of an understood.
Okay. Do you think if with 20/20 hindsight, you think you would have hugged her even back then, or do you think it was not really possible?
I don't think I would have, yeah.
So even if you knew... You would have had the regret because you probably would not hugged her. You say in the book very clearly, your family, your mom wasn't into physical hugs and stuff. She loved you, but hugging and touching, not the thing. You weren't really into demonstrating love that way. So this is interesting, and I didn't get this by reading the story. It's from the interview. Even if you had 20/20 hindsight before she passed, before you drove home that night when your sister came to relieve you, you still probably would not have told her you love her and hugged her. Is that what?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You couldn't have done it, but now you can. And God made. I hope you're still hearing this story because this has a happy ending. So now, have you grown in the ability to express love over these years?
Yes.
In a lot of ways. Yes. So this is where God helped you have a do-over. God can do anything, and he loves us. He must have known you had a prayer in your heart. It troubled you, and regret can really eat away at all of us. It's a really tough emotion to handle. And usually there's no way to fix it because it's something done. Yeah, there's no way to hug your mom in the flesh. So this is really beautiful. How did God take away the regret? Genuinely take it away.
So I kind of had that gentle nudge of that thought of why regret. And it just kind of came over me, a knowing of why regret. And I don't think I'd ever had a word for it before. And so I had that prayer in my heart to hug my mom, show her that love. And I sang Hugh, and I went to sleep that night.
Okay.
And this experience, we were right back in that moment.
You were literally a soul back in that moment.
Yes.
And she was there in that chair. Was this crystal clear and real, or sort of vague memory? Like
I can still feel it. I can still feel it. It is amazing.
So it's really beyond a dream, much like your other interview, where you as soul can literally, God has the power to literally take you and your mom and put you back in history, literally a do-over. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
So what did you do? Now you got the ultimate do-over. Only God can do this for you. Yeah. What did you do?
I hugged her.
You hugged her?
I hugged her, and I felt so much love and gratitude back and forth from both of us. And that kind of shocked me a little bit, like that level, the amount, and the gratitude part.
Okay. I wonder if she was,
do it. Yeah. It felt different. Like I've never hugged her, never had that interaction in my life.
I wonder while she's been off in heaven somewhere that she grew.
Yeah.
It's like God waited until you were both ready to be able to express love in a hug.
Right.
Like neither one of you really could. 18 years later, but was it just as real as if you'd been there that night?
Absolutely.
Wow. And did you say anything?
No, I think it was more just heart to heart.
Heart to heart.
Yeah.
Was there any doubt she felt your love?
No, not at all. It was so
Do you feel she expressed love to you?
Yes. I think it was love and gratitude both ways.
It's like you were both more capable at this time than you were all those years ago.
Yeah.
Did you love her just as much?
Absolutely. I've always loved her. But,
so we
didn't express it
but
that
now
way.
You could express it.
Right.
So the punchline is, if you have an experience like a dream or actually spiritually traveled and God took you back on a time track, which is very real, he can do a lot of things for us if we pay attention, did it heal the regret?
Yes.
Then by definition, it was a real experience. Have you had any more flare-ups of regret?
No.
None.
No, and actually when I think back to that was one of those first memories that would come, and it's not there. That's not an issue.
So when May comes up,
I'll be fine.
You're okay in May.
Yeah. I mean, the last 3 years, it's not been, I have many memories and experiences
but the
with
regret's
my mom, but
not a
that's
problem.
not there.
So this experience, for people that aren't as familiar with the dreams are very real, even though they're very confusing sometimes, and this was not confusing. It was literally happening. So it's a different type of dream.
Right.
Which you're familiar with now. We talk about up at the school. But if the audience out there is not sure about the validity of this, or was it just in their mind, it was real. And one way to know if you have experiences and you're not sure if the dream's real, if it produces real results. And in this case, literally the regret's gone. So by definition, there's something real about it. Of course, you've been up here at the school for years. you understand dreams and spiritually traveling and all, but wow, that's literally a do-over.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And I didn't realize it just reading your story. These interviews, sometimes I learn things about you I didn't know, or about this story. I didn't see as clearly in your story that you said in the story your mom and your family didn't really demonstrate love by hugging that much.
Right.
Say I love you, but not the physical hugs and stuff. My family hugs all the time. It's different. But I think it's an interesting kind of a sidebar. It's almost like God knew she couldn't accept the hug and you weren't able to.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you had a do-over back then, it was actually better 18 or 15 years later.
Mm-hmm.
You both grew in your ability to give and receive love, which is one of the big reasons we're down here on the planet, to learn to give and to receive. And it seems like you've grown and your mom grew.
Yeah.
Very, very beautiful. Regret's gone.
It's gone.
That's amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
That, God loves us. We still have connections with our loved ones. I think that's really big, and anything's possible with God.
Anything's possible with God. And when a loved one dies, they go to other realms, other heavens, and they still love us. We still love them. Mm-hmm. They look very similar. Was her body healthier when you hugged her, or was this?
It was the same, because it was that moment.
Because it was supposed to be that exact moment. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you see a loved one where they're in the prime of their life, whatever, and then they still love us.
Yeah.
The love stays. Okay. So God did this for why?
Because He loves us.
Because He loves us.
Yeah.
And He loves every one of His children. He loves each of you out there. And everything is possible with God. I'm not saying you all have the same experience, but God loves you, and I hope this show bless you today. Thank you for watching.